right, let's bring up our first judge, Brian Garrett, Crosscut Ventures. Brian? Anyone? No. First seat on the end. Paul Bricault, Amplify. Paul. Sean Flynn with Shasta. Okay. Eric Martineau-Fortin, White Star Capital. And last but not least, Mike Walsh, Structure Capital. Okay, guys, we're going to start off with, so just to refresh the memory, it's 3 minutes pitch, 5 minutes Q&A, and remember to follow the company on vator.co/company name. And then you're going to vote at the end of this round, the People's Choice Award. Starting off with Planaware, Tamir, co-founder and CEO. Tamir, come on up.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. I'm here to talk about horticulture, the art and science of useful plants. Practicing horticulture successfully requires 3 things: know-how, maintenance, and setup. The problem is that know-how is not easy to obtain, and it's very difficult to assimilate. Maintenance requires constant monitoring and control over changing conditions. And setup of automated hardware to control conditions is either too limited or too technical and expensive. Current solutions to this problem tackle just one problem at a time, fragmenting the experience as a result, which is, there we go. Fragmenting the experience as a result, which is why we created Planaware, a web service and hardware to overcome all these 3 problems at once. So Planaware setup is made of sensor-on-device nodes to control and monitor conditions. These nodes are very easy to deploy, they're plug and play. And Planaware maintenance works over the cloud. It tells you what to do and control the conditions through the hardware. Our know-how is crowdsourced from professionals and enthusiasts motivated to share their love of gardening while forming a social network for plants. The know-how then goes through our technology, which compiles it into what we call a growth cycle. A growth cycle is a plant profile which tells you what to do in your garden while maintaining plant needs vis-a-vis site conditions. So think about a growth cycle like the App Store for plants. They can be shared for social, monetary, or scientific reasons. Our model is selling hardware, sensor-on-device nodes. We also share run fee with growth cycle creators, and we refer buyers to relevant garden products. In the US, there are over 80 million households gardening, each spending on average $600 a year on their garden. The opportunity is those 60% saying they are interested in food growing, but are currently discouraged by lack of know-how, maintenance time, and poor setup. For the first time, these people will be able to grow their favorite plants like pros using technology that is powerful enough, easy enough, and fun enough to form a global culture of local agriculture. I want you to imagine a place where every family, village, or town will have thriving plants simply by connecting them to the web. This is the Internet of Plants. And if you were wondering, Planaware is not just an idea on a napkin. We have a fully operational prototype and pilot projects running. Sorry, we don't have time anymore.
Great. Thank you, Tamir. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. You can hang on to this. Okay. Brian, you like to start us off?
Sure. Great idea. Love the vision for the business. My question is really, I think there's a price sensitivity to the end consumer, and so I'd be curious to know the incremental cost, and have you done any case studies on death of a garden versus the life you bring and the incremental cost and the productivity, just to make it a clear value prop for the end consumer?
So we didn't get to the little bit more about the product, which would have been interesting to see. But I'm curious, given the the divergent range of plants that people grow. I'm presuming that the hardware side measures hydration, sunlight, and those kinds of things. But given that certain plants require different types of sunlight, different types of hydration, how much friction there is for the consumer on their side? Do they have to enter in what plants are adjacent to the hardware, et cetera, in order for this to be an effective system?
I'd be curious, and it'd be great to understand a little bit more about how you intend to take this to market. Is it selling direct? Is it through distributors? Is it in retail? Where's the right place to get in front of your target customer?
Yeah, I think in continuity to this, I'm also concerned on my end on the size of the market and whether or not the end market is a tech-savvy enough, I would say, customer base to really convert rapidly, or at least is it too soon for these type of customer?
I had a similar question, wondering if you've done any research to see if anyone wants to buy it. I think Kickstarter could be a good way to do that.
All right. So all great questions. Thank you. So the first one was about the price sensitivity. So first of all, we kind of take a look what's going on with other products out there, and we're comparing it on the consumer level to things like irrigation timers, or maybe a little bit more advanced systems that have sensors. Most of them range somewhere in the range between about $50 for something very basic to about $150 to $200 for something a little bit more elaborate. Our target price for consumer for what will be the average kit is about $300. We think that if we keep it just below $300, that's going to be the right margin point. And what happens is that really the ability to grow your own food at home is a major saving. So in terms of the return on investment, you're actually paying for that system within one cycle of either summer vegetables or winter vegetables. Instead of going and buying them from the supermarket, you just end up growing them your own, and you already saved it, not to mention, you know, the health and the benefits of taste and so on. And then we talk about how to set up the effective system, which is kind of how does people going to deal with all these sophisticated sensors and all of that. Well, this is the beauty of what we do. On one hand, we have this very, very sophisticated engine that runs really, really sophisticated fuzzy logic. But on the side of the actual user, all they have to do is download a growth cycle, which is essentially a profile that contains all that logic in advance. So for them to set up the system, they don't have to go and deal with antiquated dials or say, I want to open the water for 3 hours a day. All they have to do is say, oh, here is what I want to go. I want to go to tomato. I want to go a rose. I want to go a fern. And that's it. The system will take it from there. It already knows what to do. And then we talk about taking it to market. So the interesting thing is that what we find out, that taking it to market has levels, what we call generation of users. So the first generation is really people that have a stake in creating growth cycle for public use. And the most common one that we talked to was seed suppliers, nurseries, agronomists, and things like that, that's what they do regardless. So they were very interesting in being able to create those profiles and basically give people their knowledge because they make money from sharing this knowledge. And then about the tech-savvy market, this is go back to that same question that was raised before. So again, growth cycles is something that you only need to download, and that's it. You just say, here's what I want to grow, and it's already set. It's already in there. And then the other thing was, remind me please, that last question was about the Kickstarter. So we've been told that we should do a Kickstarter campaign since forever. And one of the things that happened is that despite what it may seem, we're not really a hardware-oriented company. We're actually a software-oriented company. And for us to do a Kickstarter where the majority of the money will actually be pre-sale for hardware is not a good idea until we get investment to actually develop the software to go along with it. So we want to do a Kickstarter campaign, but we want to do it once we get funded.
And just a little more broadly, I was wondering if you've done market research to see if anyone wants to buy it.
Oh, There's tons of people wants to buy it. Our bottleneck is making the hardware. We're currently
All right, Tamir,
building.
real quick, there, we're behind time, so
Okay, no problem.
if you got 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say our bottleneck is our ability to produce hardware. We're currently building it in my loft in a shop. It's all done by hand. It's very, very difficult to create a quantity of it, and it's very difficult to give it away in a price that actually makes sense. We need to mass produce this in order to be able to lower the price and make it available for all those who want it.
Okay, great. Tamir, thank you. Corey will get you a backpack and the wine. Running a little behind time, so we'll try and make up. Plug DJ, Alex, founder and CEO. Come on up. Good luck.
Hi, my name is Alex Reinley. I'm founder and CEO of Plug DJ, where we turn content into engaged communities. We all know that next slide, please. We all know that the world is becoming increasingly social, but the way we consume content online is a lonely, detached experience. People clearly want to interact with content, but the way we have conversations online degrades very quickly, and conversations are often disjointed over long periods of time. Also, most products have a very hard time with limited size, scope, and geographic availability, and algorithms frequently miss the mark when it comes to delivering relevant content. We solved all of these problems by creating Plug DJ, an amazing place where people all around the world can consume music and videos in a real-time, socially interactive environment. We stream from the largest pre-licensed media libraries on the planet, which incurs 0 licensing fees for us, and we've been able to be available globally from day one. The proof is in the pudding. We've been able to organically grow our audience to over 3.7 million users in over 190 countries around the world. Our average user spends over 2.5 hours actively engaged every single time they visit. When somebody comes to our site, this is an example of what they might see. This is one of thousands of user-created communities, typically around a genre of content, a theme like chill, or some other shared passion like a love of Minecraft. The point is that people form communities around common interest, and that bond holds very tight. All of the avatars in the room are real people listening and watching together. When you're in the experience, you can DJ, you can chat, you can unlock new features, or just kick back and enjoy a people-curated, community-driven experience. All of the content comes from SoundCloud and YouTube, which is a virtually limitless media library, including the largest music repository on the web. Our users are from all around the world, typically a millennial male, but what's most striking characteristically about them is that there's a very strong overlap with the social gaming community. This is particularly important because these types of people spend enormous amounts of time lean forward in social online communities, and also a big reason why they're bought into our gaming mechanics that are baked into Plug DJ. People can earn points, level up, and earn badges simply by interacting and participating with the experience. And most importantly, this is going to be a key driver for our initial monetization strategy. People are spending enormous amounts of time on our site every time they visit, but what's particularly interesting is that engagement deepens over time. As people spend more and more consecutive weeks on our site, they spend more time in each subsequent week. This is strongly attributed to people forming bonds with one another around some sort of common interest, and the fact that they're going to be consuming music and videos anyway. We make that process that experience a lot more fun and enjoyable for people. But also, the gaming mechanics that we have in place keep people retained and keep the experience sticky. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks much. Let's start with Mike. Do you have a pen? I'll get you.
Does it overlap with Turntable FM some, and what happens at Turntable FM?
Yeah, I think I'll be interested also to understand compared to the other alternative at the moment, because there's many. We see a lot in New York and London. Why this is really different.
The level of engagement, the hours that people are coming is really impressive. One thing I'd be curious to understand is what percentage of people do come back? Is retention issue? I think someone alluded to Turntable. I think that was maybe one of the challenges they run into. So understanding what you're seeing there would be great.
Yeah, but both Turntable and Chill had very high early engagement, but then it was the ongoing liquidity that was a problem for them. And I'd say more importantly was how you're tackling the thing I think that ultimately led to Turntable not being able to subsequently raise was monetization issues. So how you were looking at monetization differently.
Same question, business model surrounding social engagement on the web.
Thanks for the questions. Regarding Turntable, they were similar in certain capacities as far as being in the social consumption space, but I would say that they did a lot of things incorrectly where we've succeeded from an execution perspective, one of which is pure cost. They allowed people to upload, download content, and they hosted content, which is not cost effective and not scalable. And also the library of media was severely limited. We stream from the largest pre-licensed libraries on the planet. YouTube is the largest music repository on the web by far, and it's also the go-to place for our demographic to already consume music and videos. From a pure product perspective, the gaming mechanics that we use are much stickier, and we've proven that by having higher retention. Also, through pure user traffic, I don't think that they ever cracked the 100K monthly active user mark, and we're at 9 times that, and we have much deeper engagement. Also, the fact that they had limitations to their media model was not only cost ineffective, but has enabled us to be very scalable globally from day one. A lot of products are just simply not available outside the US or available in limited markets. We've been global from day one. We have over 190 countries of people on our site, and the market just by that virtue is much, much larger. Also, I think that at the core of it, what we're doing is very different. We don't look at ourselves as a shiny music and video player. We look at ourselves as a community-driven product, and that causes a major distinction in the way we build community tools that enable people to not only create and build, but also sustain communities. When Turntable actually went out of business, we acquired all of their users en masse, and most of which have been the most tightly knit communities on the planet. So it's pretty amazing, but in general, our consumer base is also much more socially gamed focused, and they're rabid online consumers for social experiences. The next question was around alternatives. As a consumer product, as a consumer media product, there are alternatives. I would say we compete a lot less with Spotify and Pandora and much more with YouTube, but we're in an amplification to YouTube. The experience is just that much better on our site than it is on YouTube, and it's the same content. Discovery is much better because it's people curated, and also SoundCloud is an amazing place for people to enjoy that type of content as well. And finally, our social gaming mechanics are very effective at keeping people feeling like they're progressing through the experience and keeps them coming back. With regards to retention, our retention is extremely high. Once we get people into the experience, they get hooked very quickly. One, there's a lot of sunk costs, like with any media type service, where you can build playlists and enjoy music in a fun way. But also, when you form communities around common interests with people, those bonds take a deep root and keep people coming back, much like they did with Twitch, much like they did with other online community platforms. With regards to monetization, we're very focused on monetizing the experience and not the content that we don't own. Our users have been extremely interested in purchasing virtual goods, things that either are aesthetic enhancements or rewards, or things that amplify the experience, and that's something that we're going to start with. Also, we very effectively function as an engagement platform for key influencers, whether they're artists, labels, bands, or just brands or YouTube channels.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Plug DJ. Oh yeah, you can leave that there. All right, next up, Personal RN, Karosh, co-founder and CEO.
I'll just do the finger thing. Cool.
Word on the street if this works. Just gotta push the button.
I'm Dr. Krosh Parspor. I'm the CEO of Personal RN. I've been practicing ER and ICU doc for over 15 years. I can tell you the best thing that we can do to help our patients is to educate them. Now, if you're under the age of 60, you have about a 3% chance of getting a stroke, and that number doubles for if you're 60 to 70, and then doubles again in your 70s. Next slide, please. And stroke is the leading cause of disability in the United States. It changes everything for the patient and their loved ones when they get it. And one more, go back. And when we give that life-altering diagnosis to somebody, regardless of if it's a heart attack, stroke, cancer, the patient stops listening. The world stops because this is a major, major issue. But in that situation, we're asking patients to learn complex issues as we're moving them quickly through the hospital setting. And the resources that are available to help these patients are us, a patient handout that's comprehensive, or the internet. And it's essentially asking patients to learn complex issues in a foreign language. So poor inpatient education causes patients to bounce back to the hospital. And that readmission cost is about $17.4 billion annually to the healthcare system. Now with stroke, 1 out of 4 patients is going to bounce back. But 90% of these patients, we can prevent these readmissions with proper inpatient education. Recognizing that, we decided to build our first product as the Stroke app, which is a health coach that's provided to the patients at admission. It stays with them throughout their entire hospitalization. So instead of getting a patient handout on admission, which has everything again in it, patients would receive simple to understand information that's personalized to the type of stroke that they have. Next slide. Next slide. Nope, go back, sorry. I didn't say that. And instead of getting a comprehensive content stack of therapies, instead they get personalized treatments that explains it in a simple way, bite-sized information that's relevant to also where they are in the hospital and when they're ready to learn this information. So we've gotten a lot of support from healthcare providers because it empowers patients. And once that happens, patients are compliant with the therapies that we provide. Activating the AI for our app takes less than 90 seconds from the busy ER doc, so it's not obtrusive to our workflow. And in fact, it helps improve the efficiency for some of us because it automates a lot of the standard information we have to get. And in fact, over 85% of the money that we've raised so far has been from healthcare providers and executives that are C-level in hospitals and other executive settings. So we're starting, our business model basically is to provide a subscription service to hospitals that essentially saves them about $10,000 for every patient that otherwise would have been readmitted.
Great. Thank you. Fire away, Brian.
Well, I'm sure you're getting to it, but I'd love to hear more about the business model and who's paying and what they're saving by providing this service.
And then on the hospital side, do you have any hospitals in trials? And how is that pipeline shaping up for you?
You know, when you're in the hospital, it's a confusing time, and I think sometimes it's the bedside manner that actually gets patients through it. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on that, given this feels a little bit impersonal compared to what you may get from a doctor.
I think it's a very interesting product. I'll be interested to understand compared to, let's say, WebMD or Doctissimo, which are other guys providing these type of things. How do you get the experience more personalized? Would you provide support or ability to get specific question chat? I mean, how do you make this different than just a static, I would say, web platform where you offer help?
Have you spoken with any, hardware manufacturers about their prevention or follow-up?
All right, so business model. It basically goes to the hospitals. They basically pay for it on a subscription level. So it's about $85 a month per patient, and we know how many, essentially stroke centers know how many patients they're going to get, and that is significant cost savings for them. And that doesn't even include the savings from the new CMS penalties that are being added on because of readmission penalties after the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. In regards to trials, yes, we are actually starting in the next 2 weeks at 3 hospitals in Southern California. And once we do that, then we're going to do, that's our proof of concept, and subsequently we're doing a price point validation. And then the hope is to be across the country with revenue generation by the end of 2015. The impersonal level, this is not in any way designed to remove our jobs and the nurses. This is basically designed to provide, this is to augment us, to basically standardize the language to help them understand the words that we use, so we actually have more compelling conversations with them. Patients are more engaged and they're able to discuss and ask questions and even monitor their own therapies. In regards to competition, yes, absolutely, WebMD, GenieMD, but these are sites that the patient goes home and then they basically, it's whoever has the best search engine optimization pops up first, and that's how the patients find it. We, our point of care, our app is provided at the point of care that's before access to any of our other competitors. And that's also really, really attractive to other digital health solutions, because now we can act as a distribution channel for them, for other features, so we don't have to build it. Instead, we can just bring them on board. In regards to hardware, we have a relationship, that was one of the slides, we've already established a relationship with Roizen. We're actually picked as one of their health innovation startups, and we're getting a bundled package in terms of the hardware, the cradle, the insurance, the deck in the hospital, how to keep the power on. So all of that is, and they're excited because now they're having the ability to move the hardware and the data plans into the hands of a patient population that otherwise wouldn't, which is the elderly and the impoverished. Wearables, wearables, I think right now, there's a lot left to be proven out there right now, and I think that people are doing a great job. We want to start with education, and based on that, this goes home with the patient, so the continuum of care goes, and then now you can horizontally integrate case management, risk management, identify the high-risk patients, and really employ and get your hospital resources allocated in a way to really keep the high-risk patients out of the hospital.
Just to be clear on the business model, I mean, your client is the hospital?
Correct. For right now, our
And
first wave.
would you personalize the product per hospital?
Absolutely. It's a white label product. Yeah.
White label product.
It's a white label
So the
product.
brand Personal RN is not the brand I will see. I will see
So
Weill
what?
Cornell Hospital or whatever it is.
Yeah, it'll
This
say
is-
like Ventura County Medical
Yeah.
Center Personal RN.
And I would think, I don't know, I'm not an expert on insurance, but I would think the insurance companies save more money from the drop in readmissions, whereas the hospitals actually make more money on readmissions.
You're right, and that's why they're getting penalized right now after Obamacare. But that's exactly our strategy, is to start with hospitals and then do a top-down strategy where we actually go with the HMOs or the ACOs, and then they basically are going to deploy this out, or health systems.
And how would hospital measure performance of your product? How would they? How
Say
would
again?
they see? How would hospital measure the performance of your product?
Great. So Meaningful Use 2 is a new act that's been passed that requires patient engagement. Happy to talk to you afterwards. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ferosh. Good job. All right, next up, ProGrids, Paul and Jens.
Thank you. Thanks. I think I'm going to do the hand thing. That's a little easier for me. So I'm Paul, and we're ProGrids, and we're related product ads for websites. So next slide. So when you're on a travel blog or something like that, usually when you're done reading the article, you'll see little related products or a little related articles at the end. So if you're reading about a trip to Peru, you might see 10 things to pack in your suitcase or how to get cheap flights. What we've done is we built a technology that now matches products to that content. So now if you're reading about that same trip to Peru, you might see a suitcase from Macy's or swim shorts from like PacSun or something like that. So the reason we did this, next slide please, is because we've worked at big advertising agencies, and companies like Macy's and Nordstrom's would come to us all the time and say, hey, we have $30,000 in budget, can you spend it on all of your different fashion blogs and your different affiliates? And what we do is we do a mail merge and say, hey, can you write about our products? And the problem is that when you write to these different websites, they're getting thousands of emails a day with the exact same requests, so you never get your products written about. It just fails. Next slide, please. So what we've done is we created a platform that actually lets Sephora, Macy's, and Nordstrom's upload like their back-to-school products, and then we match those products on all the different blog sites that we work with. We work with over 2,000 blogs now, and so we do that by saying if it's a beauty blog, match beauty products. That's contextual matching. The second thing is we've integrated with Estee Lauder to do retargeting. So now if someone goes to Estee Lauder, we're going to show them Estee Lauder products. And the last thing is a bidding system process, so they bid like CPC bids to see who shows up first. Next slide, please. So this is who we're working with now. Obviously, advertisers love it because we've now reduced the friction of email, and so their products go up instantly across the whole network, pretty easily in a native way, so it's right in the content. It gets high click-through rates. Next slide, please. As far as publishers, it's hard to see, but we have 2,000 publishers now. We served 20 million impressions last month. We haven't focused tremendously on publisher development yet, but it's been pretty easy because now 33% of the publishers are coming in by themselves. Next slide, please. So the reason we did this is because the trend on Google. So if you look at Google text ads, when you used to type in like a keyword like rain boots, you used to see tons of text ads. In 2012, you saw all text ads. That was 100% of the spend. Now in 2014, it's product ads like ours are 63% of the spend on Google. So next slide, please. So if you look here, display is kind of in that same spot. It's an $11 billion industry, and right now only native products like ours represent about a $1.5 billion industry. It's gonna move where it's gonna represent $8.5 billion, mainly because our product ads that we're serving are 7 times more likely to be clicked than a banner. They convert exactly the same. So the spend's gonna go that way. Online marketers are gonna figure that out real fast, and then they're gonna flood the platform. Next slide, please. So our competition is the advertising agencies that we used to work at, Commission Junction and Linkshare. They're currently the way that companies like Macy's and Nordstrom work with tons of different fashion bloggers. They're the ones that email it. Next slide, please. So, we worked at both Commission Junction.
Thanks a lot. Okay, Mike, fire away.
How do you get around the agencies and sell directly to the end buyer, and what's the cost of doing that?
And what is the sort of average size of contract you're succeeding getting with these big companies that you have now?
It'd be great to try to understand the efficacy of the system that you've built versus click-throughs that Google AdSense can drive and others, and why you're performing better. What is it about your technology that leads to that performance?
And then you didn't really get into the business model per se. I presume it's an affiliate fee, and so you're getting a piece of that affiliate fee. So I'd like to know a little bit more about the gross margins and how big you need to be to make this a sizable business.
I guess I was confused on business model as well. I interpreted it as a CPC platform, so native content coming from the brand, like a Nasty Gal blog post on a specific product. You charge them on the clicks they generate. They technically have no risk because they only pay for the clicks they get. And I'd like to clarify that because I don't think it'll work otherwise.
Yeah, it's not. Okay, sorry, my pen wasn't working. Do you mind repeating the first 2 questions? Sorry.
Sure, they may have kind of answered it.
Okay.
Actually, but what do you have to go around the agency, and if so, what's the cost of doing that?
Okay. Okay, so the first question, the agency question, you do have to go around the agency. I've worked in online marketing for 10 plus years. It's pretty easy if you have the connections. You just send them an email, say, we have a new platform. Do you want to spend money? And they have discretionary budget at the end. And if it performs well, you'll get reoccurring budgets, which I think was your next question, which is average order size is about $5,000. Mainly it's limited by our publisher network. We can't drive that many clicks, which is what we charge. We actually decided to go outside the affiliate networks, because if you stay in there, you're always going to be stuck with CPA. So you rip out your great content, your great bloggers, and you go CPC. And so we recently signed a contract with an agency that's going to cover all of our product ads with CPC. The gross margins with only one bidder is 30%. So we anticipate if you have multiple bidders, it's going to be much higher. But with one bidder, it's 30%. I think I answered your question.
Well,
I don't know.
clear.
Oh, yeah.
On the CPC side, is there a min guarantee to the blogger that gets them motivated to drop the post, or is it literally like it has to fit with their style of writing and thus they can select it? They may make 50 cents, they may make $5,000, depending on their traffic and depending on the quality of the native content.
So the product actually sits right at the bottom of the post. It's automatically injected to the bottom, so they don't have to write about the post, because if it's sponsored posts, it's going to be really tough to get them to write, almost impossible. So you need to inject that content automatically, so that's what we do. We have the ability to choose the products. We also give them the ability to choose the products, which is how you differentiate yourself by just another ad network, so they can change products to different products if they want, but most likely they don't.
I don't know if you did answer your question.
Oh, sorry.
It was just trying to understand a little bit better about why your system is driving better advocacy
Oh.
or efficacy than other systems out there.
Yeah, so the banner doesn't get clicked, pretty much. I think everybody knows that the banner is tough to get clicked. Ours is in the content, like right in the middle. So you're gonna get high click-throughs that way, and then it's related to the content around it. So so obviously our CTO would say he's a PhD, and so he focuses on big data and making sure that we get high click-through rates, which is what it is, but yeah.
How do you fit overall into the general sort of current native ad ecosystem? You talked a little bit about sort of link share, commission junction, and there's skim links out there too, and then you've got Nativo and share through and Ad Colony and Triple Lift and
So many of them.
yeah.
So we're not the sponsored post type way to go because it's hard to get people to write about it and it's hard to get budget. So what we do is we want to take all the content publishers and own that entire bit of content in the middle. So that's product ads at the bottom, that's text links. So we would be like the third big commission junction link share, us, but we would own all the content sites because we can pay them a CPC, not a CPA, and we'll be so much more compelling. Already we have publishers coming because we pay them a higher CPC, which is we guarantee them a minimum CPC. With our 30% margin, it allows us to make money.
And from the publisher side, it's a simple piece of code they drop in
JavaScript.
on a WordPress or something like
Yeah,
that?
we built a plugin and there's JavaScript that they put at the very bottom. So the key is to get the products up all across their site in one step. And then they don't end up changing it, they just leave it up. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Progress.
We caught up 20 seconds there.
All right, and last but not least, AIO Robotics. Jens? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Jens. I'm the CEO of AIO Robotics, and we're the next generation 3D printer company here in Los Angeles. Next slide. Let's first have a look at the market. Only 150,000 3D printers got sold worldwide until today, and over the next years, the sales numbers will significantly increase. By 2017, more than 1 million 3D printers will get sold worldwide. But we have to look at the data and ask us, why did 3D printers not take off yet? And we believe it's because of two reasons. It's because of 3D printers are still too complex to use, and 3D printers are still too expensive. Next slide, please. And this is our solution. We built Zeus. Zeus is the world's first all-in-one 3D printer. It's a 3D printer with an integrated 3D scanner. And so you can scan, print, copy, and fax. And it is also easier to use than all competitor products because all you have to do is pressing one of these pink buttons. So you can digitize objects, you can 3D print any 3D model files, but you can also 3D copy objects. And what that means is you put a real object into the machine, press the copy button, and within 1 hour you get a plastic copy of this original object. You can scale it up, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller with just a few touches of a button. But you can also 3D fax it from one machine into another machine worldwide, anywhere. The machine, we eliminated all manual calibration. The machine comes ready out of the box, initial setup time less than 10 minutes. And also, if you go back the slide, this device comes at a significantly lower cost than all competitor products out there. Next slide, please. What are our market verticals? Well, we have 3 market verticals. The first one is the educational sector, middle schools, high schools, and colleges. The second ones are the professional users, the designers, the architects, and the engineers that use our device for prototyping. And then we have the B2B2C market. These are copy stores, home improvement markets, and car repair stores. And all these target groups together have a market potential of more than $1 billion just for the United States. Next slide, please. So how do we actually reach out directly to our target customers? Well, this is a world map. And first, we identified our customer hotspots. Then we partnered up with local distributors worldwide. And these hotspots, we connected all these distributors with a handful of global master distributors. And our goal is to sell 1,000 machines this year. We already sold 140 machines so far. Next slide, please. Why do we think we will be successful in the market? Well, we have a very compelling product, the first of its kind. We have an excellent performance team of PhD-level engineers. We have a world-class OEM manufacturer, Light-On, that is able to produce thousands of machines in a very short time. And we have a very strong advisory board that helps us to guide how to scale up our company. Thank you.
Let's start off the questions with Brian. You need a pen? Go.
Can you just talk a little bit more about the compelling use cases of where the mass market consumer would need one of these things? I'm struggling with that and have been for a couple years now.
Okay.
You talked about it being a compelling case for lower cost, and that's one of the ways that you were win, but you didn't really talk about the cost of the product or the margin on the product and how that changes in scale and the relationship with the OEM manufacturer, and will you be relying on them if you start getting volume?
Okay.
I appreciate you trying to answer the question, why hasn't it taken off yet? I'm curious to understand from your perspective whether or not the fact that it takes an hour to print a single thing is still going to be potentially an inhibitor to driving mass adoption.
I think the aesthetic of what you're having as a product is pretty good, and the appearance of simplicity is also pretty nice. I think there's a market. I would be concerned about patent protection. How defensible is it against some of the large currently existing player? And then also, how do you get this up and running? Because the cost of capex to go get the first machine will be quite massive probably, and that's probably a fairly large race to start with, not half a million to a million, but it's either you go big or you just walk on. That's my view.
Just curious about your revenue estimates for the next couple of years.
Okay, let me answer these questions. First, we start with the use cases. Well, we know that we are in the B2B market and not in the B2C market directly. So we know that 3D printers will not be in households over the next years. We know that the clear demand is coming from prototyping businesses, from really professional users that use these devices on a daily basis to prototype and to design. So my teammates and me, we are from a robotics lab. We use 3D printers on a daily basis to really prototype parts, customize parts, get them very quickly within 2-3 hours, maybe an hour if these are smaller parts. So clearly the use cases are in the B2B in the B2B business, in the professional use, in the prosumer field. The cost of product, well, we are selling it for $2,500 compared to a MakerBot digitizer, a MakerBot 3D scanner, and a MakerBot 3D printer. We are already above $3,600 plus a computer. This device has a high-speed computer integrated, so you will be with a competitive product above $4,000 easily. When it comes to margins, we partnered up with Lite-On. Lite-On is a manufacturer that manufactured over 50 million 2D printers in the last decade. They're experts in scaling down the cost, and we are around 1/3 of our retail price in the manufacturing cost. The drive for mass adoption, well, how are we going to do that? What holds it back pretty much? You said the printing time. Printing time is definitely one of the hot topics for 3D printing, how to increase the printing speed. We have ideas about having a multi-nozzle system with a bigger nozzle, a smaller nozzle, how we can combine it in a way that we increase the printing speed. So this is a process that will go on over the next year, 2 years on our side, how to increase the speed of 3D printing, but that's clearly one other reason that holds back 3D printing, of course. Patents, yeah, we filed an international patent, so we are protected on that side. However, I think what protects us more is the first mover advantage at this point. We see that a lot of other companies want to enter the space of 3D printing and 3D scanning, but having the skills of having really both technologies combined in one machine is very challenging. Most of the 3D printer companies out there just focus on one field, either 3D printing or 3D scanning, but not both. Was that the full question you had? And revenue estimations are, we want to sell 1,000 machines this year, so roughly with distributor pricing, $2,000 per machine that we sell, that would be $2 million this year, and by next year we want to scale up. We want to produce more than 10 million in revenue. That would be then 10,000 machines, at least. So yeah, that's our plan.
All right, great. All right, so you've seen all 10 companies. It's time to vote. We've got the People's Choice Award, which is Slido/Splash LA. So you got 20 minutes from right now to put. Everyone gets one vote. So log in, vote. Section committee judges, you guys grab lunch and then go to the go to the Javelin Venture Room to deliberate on the top 3. Big round of applause to our judges and CBRE and TrueCar for lunch.